What's a good example of Chicagoese? Like a word, a phrase. Is jagoff quintessential Chicagoese?
Oh, that's a good one there. For me, after doing this book too, Chicagoese, I think a lot of people think of it as that speech pattern we've talked about earlier with the dis, dat, these, and those. What makes Chicago, the language, unique. And for purposes of the book too, we just looked at it in terms of like what's a good Chicago story. Mm-hmm. But I would say jagoff is definitely very Chicagoese.
It's car con carne. Let's eat in the car. It's car con carne. And now here's the star of our show, James Van Alstyne.
This is a good idea. I'm glad we got together to go ahead and talk about some food in the book. It'd be great.
Dennis Foley, the man who gave the world the Streets and Sandman's Guide to Chicago Eats all those years ago. You are here. We are in the parking lot of Byron's in Wrigleyville, right by Irving, and that is Sheridan. Irving and Sheridan. And in the back seat, as if that weren't enough, the owner of Byron's, Mike Payne's in the back seat.
How you doing?
We smuggled him out of the kitchen and threw him in the back. This is awesome.
He's got a dog ready to eat too.
Oh my gosh, I've got a jumbo dog sitting in front of me that's calling out to me. But Dennis, I guess let's start with really what was the beginning for a lot of our relationships with you, the Streets and Sandman's Guide to Chicago Eats. You worked for Streets and Sand.
Yeah, when I was with them for a total of 7 years, and I'm not with Streets and Sand now, but those were some of the, I had a great time working, the camaraderie with the guys. But the best part of the day, as you might guess, was when we would make plans of where we were going for lunch.
And you detail the places that people like you and me go to. I look at people standing in line on Randolph Street at the really expensive restaurants and think, those aren't the places for me.
Yeah,
the places for me are places like Byron's over here.
Yeah, Byron's was in the book too because I think they got one of the best dogs going. It's the kind of dog where they have more items to put on there. You can throw the old salad on the dog. It's a meal in itself. But overall, the premise was these are mom and pop places, regular Joe places that you could go and eat. You're not going to find chains in the Streets and Sandman book.
You are so Chicago. I mean, all the way down. You've got the Chicago accent. You know that, right?
I got a little bit of it. I had more when I went to school. I went to college down in Memphis, and I had a lot more of the dis, dat, these, and those back then.
Well, and plus, I'm sure when you worked for Streets and Sand, you had to say like Streets and Sand.
Yeah, and you're hanging around we had also have Streets and Sand, but you have the CDOT, Chicago Department of Transportation, or we used to call it the Chicago Department of Tony, and you have all the guys we'd have to be talking with. Hey, how you doing today? Hey, use 3 guys, the both of you, come with me. We had guys talking like that, so it was a riot.
So, all right, so we'll throw the question to Mike as well here. We've got these hot dogs from Byron's, which, seriously, I can't believe we haven't started eating these yet. I'm going to start with you, Dennis. What makes a good hot dog? Because, to the layman, all hot dogs are the same.
Yeah, and I had a buddy of mine that owned a hot dog joint out on the south side. He was former catcher for the Cubs and the Cardinals. His name was Eric Pappas, and he had a place called My Boy Jack's. And he said, people think about making a hot dog is easy. He goes, believe me, it's much easier to screw up a hot dog. And to me, he was right, because I've had some bad hot dogs in a place like Byron's, another place like out south too, like Fat Johnny's. They take the dog, you get the nice bun that comes with it, and then just the mustard, throw the relish on there, the onion, I like the tomatoes, and then finish it off with the cucumbers or the pickles, or like here at Byron's you get both. So it's the ingredients, and then top it with that celery salt, and to me that's a Chicago dog.
All right, so Mike, we're at your place. We're about to dig into Byron's hot dogs. As the owner, as someone whose life is all about hot dogs, what makes a good dog?
Well, it all starts with the steam table, believe it or not.
Meaning
you
what?
have to have the right amount of water in the steam table, the right amount of flame underneath the bottom to keep everything hot, because that is the key to a hot dog, is having everything hot. From the time it comes out of the steam table till it hits your mouth is the shorter the time, the better it is.
A lot of people talk about the snap. Is that important?
Snap comes from a natural casing hot dog, but we have our own distinct snap, because we don't boil our hot dogs like a lot of places do. We steam under pressure our hot dogs, so we have our own distinct snap. But yes, it is important.
Cool.
right, so we should probably eat these
definitely.
Byron's hot
Yeah,
dogs.
we got to dig in.
I can't disagree with that.
Yeah, I don't know what it says about me or Mike. I walk in, he's like, "Oh, you should try the jumbo dog." Would have been okay with the regular hot dog. He's like, "Oh, you should go jumbo." Like,
Yeah, the jumbo looks good though. It's got the regular dog's good, but that one definitely.
you look like a guy who could take a jumbo.
for sure.
It doesn't even fit on the bun. Look at this. It's like a forearm.
Coming off the edges on you there.
It's a forearm stashed inside a bun. There it is.
That's good.
See, the dog is very flavorful. The dog cuts through the veggies.
I mean, the dog is. That's the best part, but those veggies give that good accent to it.
Well,
it's got fresh veggies, and you feel that as you eat it, but the dog definitely is what controls.
Well, the Chicago dog is perfect in that you get all those flavors and textures. You get the crunch of the pickle, and you get the sweet of the relish, and it's all beautifully balanced. It's like a ballet in a bun, really.
Never heard the ballet in a bun line before, but I like that one.
All right, so Dennis, you are an author. You are prolific. You are a creative soul. Chicago is so very much a part of everything you do, really. Your new book project, We Speak Chicagoese, is a collection of stories and poems about, you guessed it, Chicago.
Yeah, and it's all by Chicago writers too. And I mean, it's kind of funny because we're here eating a hot dog, and that's about as much of a Chicago thing as you can get. Mm-hmm. And I am, by the way. I was talking with Mike. If you put ketchup on your dog, you should be slapping yourself when you eat a hot dog.
All right, why is that? Why, guys? Help me.
I like. If I'm eating a hot dog around the house, I make myself. I'll just put a little ketchup on a plate and eat it plain. Mm-hmm. But if I'm getting all the ingredients in the bun with everything, I like it with just the mustard. I don't know, Mike. Is there like the rule that it kind of makes it taste better? Or?
It makes it taste. It changes the taste of the mixture of, like you said, of all the ingredients that are on a hot dog. So if you put ketchup in there, it's just too sweet. Then it takes away from everything else. Besides, even though we know there's a lot of people that do like the K word,
yeah,
we've come to the conclusion that we call it red mustard now. So that way we don't have to look the other way when we put the K word on your hot dog.
I was telling Mike that right out just under the underpass there, the viaduct over by White Sox Park. I don't know what to call it now, so I'll just call it White Sox Park. But
that's really the best solution at this point.
And there's a little hot dog joint there. I forget the name of it, but it's a little red building, and they get good shrimp in there too. But the hot dog, if you order it with ketchup, you have to go over to the corner, and they have a ketchup Bella shame that you have to ring first. But
it's better than a dunce cap, though.
Yeah,
sure.
Yep.
Glass half full. Mm-hmm. I have a 10-year-old girl, and when we go out for hot dogs, she wants her hot dog only ketchup, and I always need to quickly explain to whoever's behind the counter, it's for my 10-year-old girl.
So they don't believe you, do they?
Right. Yeah, you got.
It's not for me. It's for her.
Yeah, you got to make that clear.
Sure.
Her hot dog palate's not that refined. I'm sorry.
Yep.
I need to apologize for it. All right. So We Speak Chicagoese. Where did this idea come from? Was it something you figured, I just have to do this?
And what I was saying too, like the Chicago dog being such a part of the Chicago culture, this book, it's like, the writers, that all these stories in here are about Chicago, some place, whether it's the north side, south side, something over on the east side, but they're from every little corner of Chicago. Mm-hmm. And these are Chicago guys, and we've got some big names in here too, like, Rick Cogan from the Tribune and WGN. You've got Stuart Dybeck, who's arguably, the best short story writer in our area, but also perhaps in the nation. Just, talented group guys, young guys like Joe Mino and Patty McNair. Just, they're all writing Chicago stories, and it has that kind of, it's got that Chicago bite to it because there's some grit to it too.
Well, the story that opens the entire book talks about taking field trips to the prison and to the slaughterhouse.
Right. Yeah, can you imagine as a kid, that was back in the days when Stuart Dybeck, it's his story, and the nuns take him over to Cook County Jail because this is where some of you are going to end up anyways. And then...
they're exposed to prostitutes. And...
Yeah. Yeah, so that trip didn't go so well, so the nuns decided the next year to take him to the slaughterhouse to watch animals killed instead. Only in Chicago.
Religion's a tough racket, man. And for the record, I love Byron's hot dogs so much, I'm wearing them home.
Nice little mustard stain on the shirt there.
Mustard
Jim?
and relish.
Yep.
Yeah. I get to really show off my dinner tonight. This is great.
It's a sign of a good meal. I mean, my wife is always complaining about how much stuff she has to spray on my shirts after the meals to clean them up. So,
and we haven't even broken into the fries yet.
Yeah, right.
We still have some work to do. And I'm drinking Green River. I'll tell my Byron story. Last summer, I did a stage show, like a kind of a late night TV talk show concept at Uptown Underground in Uptown. And our post show, our official post show destination, was Byron's on Lawrence. After every show, we'd kind of recap what we did, what worked, what didn't, and we would sit down. We get a Polish and a Green River, and that it's actually a very fond memory for me. It's going to Byron's on Lawrence.
And I like throw the Green River. It's fun when you have it around the house too, and throw a little ice cream in there.
The Green River float.
Yeah, do the float. To call it the Shamrock Shake, whatever you want to call it.
The Green Cow.
The Green Cow.
Absolutely. Some other stories in We Speak Chicagoese. On the Erio, this to me is like quintessential Chicago. I mean, I guess everything in your book is quintessential Chicago, Dennis, but this idea of just Chicago corruption institutionalized in kind of a secretive bar where the bartender overhears everything, every corrupt politician's deal breaking and deal making and stuff. I love that.
Yeah, and that's that was written by a gentleman by the name of Mike Houlihan. And, Mike's a very funny guy. He had a play going east on Ashland years ago that was a one-man play, was a big hit. And, but then it's like he takes this turn in this story here, because this is not a funny story.
No, it goes dark pretty quick.
It lets you know that here he is. It's Danny O'Neill, who's the bartender, like you said, at the Heidi Ho bar over in the old Bismarck Hotel. And it is Chicago because he hears about the connections and what's going on, and that's what the story's about.
Yeah, that's a favorite. And I got to say, and I swear I'm not just saying this because you edited the book and you're in my car, but Pretty Please, I think is also a standout.
Well, thanks. I had an opportunity to have a story of mine in there that was great. We have the release party coming up on Saturday, and someone asked me if I'm going to read Pretty Please, and I said no. As the editor, I'm going to read a couple of the poems by other people that can't be there. But Pretty Please I had a blast with because, without getting into too much with the story, there's a grandfather with some secrets.
Right, and there were some uncomfortable, sexual things going on in there, too.
Yeah, there was a little bit of stuff there that might make someone go, hey, ho, I don't know if I want to keep going, but I think it's worth it to turn the page. But, my own grandfather we didn't know about it while he was alive. He was a very quiet, great guy. And when he died, all of a sudden, at his wake and funeral, these two guys show up with the flag of the Irish Republican Army, and we find out that he had been a gun runner and had been imprisoned twice, and they had to bust him out, and that's how he got over to America.
Oh, my God.
Wow.
So I kind of took that and kind of gave those attributes to the grandfather and Pretty Please, and then kind of rolled it into a different thing and had a fun time putting it together.
That story in itself would make me want to read the book.
Yeah, it truly, it's extraordinary. And anyone who's lived here for any amount of time should pick up this book because you will recognize characters, streets, attitudes, behaviors. I mean, they're all there.
Yeah, and thanks, Jim. I appreciate you saying that too. And there's a number of poems in there that I really like, but you get flavor from all over the city. And one of my favorites too, there's a poem in there by a young poet, Southside guy, and it's called Inglewood, and it just has this great kind of beat to it, like a 4 beats per line, 4 lines per stand, and it kind of per stanza, and it comes at you like boom, 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 just really powerful stuff.
It's interesting. I finished reading the book this past weekend, and one of the last stories in the book timed out with the calendar as I'm reading the book, how a Muslim feels about 9/11.
Right.
It was like almost eerie. I turned the page and I'm looking at the calendar, and the national conversation turned to 9/11, and there's that story in your book.
Yeah, that is pretty wild because I hadn't even thought of that, but yeah, it's right there this time, and that's. written by an author. Her name is Maja Bin Syed, and she was just a little kid, back when the 9/11 happened, and she kind of tells a great story about how it made her feel to have all the eyes on her at school and what it felt like, because she's an American, but she kind of felt very different after the attacks on the World Trade Center.
And in this election year, can't we all agree? Mike Payne for president, a hot dog in every...
I like it. Well, hey, I think that's a great choice.
It'll make things so much easier for a lot of us.
It'll be a lot more organized, too.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, America, do you like Polish sausage? Damn right you do. Vote Mike.
That's the campaign slogan.
Let's make this happen, America. So, Dennis, were people eager to contribute? Did you have to twist any arms? Did people have some of these stories just in their kind of bank ready to pull out for the right occasion?
And some of these stories in here, I mean, it took a little while to get it going. This was not like you're working on it every day, but I worked on it along with a buddy of mine, Bill Donlin, who's the co-editor, and it was good having Bill involved because I'm a Chicago guy, he's not, so I got the Chicago lens, and he can look at it from an outsider's point of view and say, hey, I
you
think
complement each other.
Yeah, I think that'll kind of relate to people, not just in Chicago but everywhere. So it took almost 3 years to put it together.
I believe it.
But once we started getting a couple of the bigger names in there, then all of a sudden it was like, I'd send out a contact to somebody and say, hey, we're still waiting to hear if you'd like to submit a piece to this. By the way, Stuart Dybeck's in here and right. Joe Mino's in here. Now all of a sudden, oh yeah, I have something for you. So we didn't have anybody that said no, but we did have a few no responses.
Okay. How much archival stuff did you pull? I mean, the legendary, the very Chicago Carl Sandburg
right.
pieces in there.
Yeah, it was really cool because, I wanted this book, too, to cover, a good deal of time. So, because that, gives the Chicago flavor from the early 1900s on up to the modern day. And, so you have a Carl Sandburg poem in there. We have a story in there by a guy, from the mid-1900 or mid-1915 or so, Ben Reitman, who was a famous guy back in his time. He was a pretty interesting guy, but he was a doctor that basically took care of the prostitutes and the hobos here in Chicago in his time. And he was a hobo himself and traveled the country. But there's a great story in there by a guy that I really think is a talented writer, once again going back in time, but it's by Sherwood Anderson. And it's called Brothers, and it takes place, he calls it out in the country. It's actually what would be present-day Palos Park. Right.
You're talking about taking care of the prostitutes and hobos. There's something about certain periods of Chicago that just completely hook me in. I think of the Karen Abbott book, Sex in the Second City, mm-hmm. which was about that era of, politicians hanging out in brothels all day long.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I've been doing a lot of research just for a future project, but this Reitman guy really got me going. There was that whole area. They had what was called the Dill Pickle Club back in the 1915s or so up through the early 1930s. And it's kind of like that. It's where politicians, poets, anarchists, hobos, a little bit of the underbelly, some higher ups. There was all these guys came in there, and it was all about, there wasn't a booze place. It was coming in, and people would get up on the old soapbox. It was right outside of Bug House Square there, just around the corner, and they would read stories, argue points, go ahead and put on little plays, and you had that same kind of setup that you were talking about from that book.
All right, so your book is available.
Yeah, and it's out there in the various bookstores in Chicago. You can get it, and you can get it online, like through Amazon. The Side Street Press is the publisher. It's always good to support the little guys.
Agreed.
And that's run by Bill Donlin, and so yeah, anywhere you want to pick it up, you can get it. A couple of the places I'll throw a little hoot to them, but out my way, out in the Beverly area, Bookie's bookstore at 103rd and Artesian has it. The Newberry Library has it down, in the kind of like near north area, and then out south or out north you have Quimby's over in Bucktown, and then just another number of the other independent stores in the area.
I was just in your area like 2 weeks ago. I was at Top Notch.
Oh, you get the good burger in there.
Oh my God!
I love the milkshakes there though. That's
didn't have a shake because I saved my ice cream for a trip to Rainbow Cone.
Yeah. Well, that's not a bad deal
No,
either.
that worked out okay. I will say, we speak Chicagoese. I mentioned it's great for anyone who lives in Chicago, but if you have friends or family who've moved from Chicago, instead of sending them the bucket of Garrett popcorn that a lot of people do to give them a taste of home, this is a great way to kind of make them feel connected to the city again. I love this book.
Yeah, and I have a kid. I taught high school. I coached in high school for pretty close to 20 years, and then I taught for 5 of those years. But I have a student that was a kid that's now over teaching in Japan, and I sent him the Chicagoese book because he definitely needed to get a little taste of home.
All right, let's eat some of these Byron's fries. All right, so Mike, can't help but notice when you walk into Byron's here on Irving Park Road, there it is on the wall, giant picture of you with President Barack Obama. I'm pretty sure that there aren't many hot dog places in Chicago that have similar pictures on the wall. How did that happen? What happened?
It started back in June of 2010. I got a phone call that asked me if I wanted to have. First of all, it was going to be that the president was going to come to Byron's, but they changed their mind about that. I think the Secret Service had something to do with it. This
is a small establishment. I don't think there's enough room for all the Secret Service that follows the president around here.
It's small, but it's got a big heart.
That's right.
So, anyways, unbeknownst to me, they decided to change their mind, and they wanted us to come to the White House to. We had to go there to tell them how to make hot dogs, Chicago-style hot dogs, the right way, because
that's amazing.
Yeah. They were going to boil the hot dogs, and I had to tell them you cannot boil hot dogs, not our hot dogs. So we went there, and we were there for 3 days. And the way it happened was they decided they were going to have a picnic for all the congressmen and the senators and the House of Representatives and their families. And one of the items of food that they wanted to serve, because Barack Obama is from Chicago, was Chicago-style hot dogs. And they had a committee to decide all of this stuff, and Senator Dick Durbin was on the committee, and he's a Byron's customer. Mm-hmm. Just shows you how smart he is. And so he said, well, if you want to do Chicago-style hot dogs, you have to call Byron's. So they called me, and we went. Originally, they weren't going to let me bring my wife, but I kept nagging them. You know how things go like that. I nagged them, and finally they agreed to let her come.
Yeah, that just made your life easier.
Yeah, right, all the way around. So it was a wonderful thing for us. We were there for 3 days in the kitchen at the White House. We got to go everywhere in the White House, and we worked with the executive chef of the White House to prepare the hot dogs, how to cut the lettuce and how to cut the cucumbers and tomatoes and everything.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was an experience I'll never forget. And I think what you started out with when you said that you don't think there's too many hot dog stands in Chicago that have that. I think there's only one.
And we're there.
Yeah.
We're in the parking lot of that hot dog joint.
Right.
That's amazing.
Hey, and Jim and Mike, one thing I did want to let the folks know too is it's pretty cool. We're here that the cover of the Chicagoese book is actually from a photograph taken pretty much where we're sitting right here in the car right now, going from the back of from the parking lot at Byron's up at the Sheridan L stop here, and then and if I could throw a plug at him, it was actually my son Pat, who's a graphic designer.
It looks great.
And
wow.
he went ahead and took the photograph then illustrated off of it and created the cover, and that's the shot right here from the back of Byron's going into the parking lot in the L stop. It's pretty cool because I like it because it's got that good Chicago pretty up top because we got some great things in Chicago, and then you have a little bit of the grittiness underneath in the L track.
Darkness below, yeah.
Right.
That's what I call Chicagoese.
Yeah, definitely. Because that's our city's beautiful, but we also have some grit too.
That's for sure.
What's a good example of Chicagoese? Like a word, a phrase. Is jagoff quintessential Chicagoese?
Oh, that's a good one there. For me, after doing this book too, Chicagoese, I think a lot of people think of it as that speech pattern we've talked about earlier with the this, that, these, and those. What makes Chicago, the language, unique. And for purposes of the book too, we just looked at it in terms of like what's a good Chicago story. Mm-hmm. But I would say jagoff is definitely very Chicagoese.
So Mike, give me some Byron's history. This place has been around for a long time.
Yeah,
places have come and gone in this neighborhood over by Sheridan and Irving. Byron's is still standing.
Yeah, it's amazing. We started back in opened May 10th, 1975, and Byron and I helped build it. And Byron, there was a man named Byron, who unfortunately has passed away, but he and I got together because he had a different restaurant that I used to deliver milk to. And because I delivered milk there, we became friends. And he found out, and Dennis, I think you'll take interest in this one. He found out that I worked at a place called Tasty Hasty. I don't know if either of you are aware of that.
No.
But that was on Milwaukee Avenue. 5446 North Milwaukee was the address, believe it or not. And I started there in 1965. Anyways, Byron realized that I had that kind of experience, and he says, I always wanted to open a hot dog stand. So that's how we got together. We became very good friends while I was delivering milk, and he decided he wanted to open a hot dog stand, and he used me as the manager, and I showed him how to set up the front counter just like Tasty Hasty used to be.
Mm-hmm. And Mike, how many Byrons are there now then?
Well, there's two Byrons right now. The original one, which is the one where we're eating right now, with our ears ringling by the L over here.
That's authentic Chicago going on right there. Mm-hmm.
And there's the one on Lawrence Avenue, a block west of Ashland.
Gotcha.
There have been other stores in between all these times, but these are the two. And by the way, they're the first two. And they're still they're still going pretty strong.
Yeah, that's
awesome. And these fries are really good. And I'm saying this as a compliment. There's just the right amount of salt.
Yeah.
They're salty, like they're just awesome.
And one of the things I can't stand is you go into a place and you get your fries, you take off, you leave, and then you find out that they didn't salt them at all. There's a lot of people there.
Especially
if you're driving. It's like,
if you're driving for a while and you're stuck in the car eating, and you're like, oh, come on.
Yeah. If I had known there was no salt, I would have grabbed some packages.
I'm going to finish these, but I don't want to. Yeah. I'm not happy about it.
You remember the line in Lethal Weapon 2, don't you? You always get fucked in the drive-thru.
Yep.
I gotta say, of the three of us, I didn't expect Mike to be the first one to swear in this episode.
Wait a minute, you said jagoff already.
Yeah, I'm going to still consider jagoff a swear word too. So
is jagoff a swear word?
I think so. You asshole.
In Chicago, it is.
That's really not a swear
and Chicagoans really say it with such style. You jagoff.
Hey, let's all give a good one. Hey, that guy's a jagoff.
Mike, you got one for us?
That guy's a jagoff.
This is the most Chicago episode of my Chicago podcast to date. I blame you, Dennis Foley.
Thank God for editors.
Editors? This is a podcast. Foley's the one with the editors. I got nothing.
Hey, can I throw one little food plug out there just because there's this guy I met a while ago. Maybe you've been there, Mike, I don't know, but it's a beef joint. I like their beef sandwiches over at Brothers Beef.
No, I never.
So it's over like Armitage, right off of right off of Halstead there, a block.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, nice little joint. It's owned by these two guys, Johnny and Donnie Pop. And I tell you, it's good beef, but it cracks me up because they're in there sometimes they're not. And Donnie, he's the older brother. He's got a head that's about as big as this car.
Wow.
It looks like he looks like if you chopped it off, you put it up on Mount Rushmore, it would fit right in. But good beef sandwiches. Yep. So I just wanted to give them a little plug because I had their beef the other day too.
Dude, I just went to Johnny's in Elmwood Park for my first time.
They have good beef too.
Oh yeah.
Man, they do. And I looked at the menu when I walked in. I thought I was looking at like a retro menu on the wall. It's dirt cheap. Like milkshakes are like $1.75 there.
Wow. And that's in the Streets and Sand book too, and it's funny because I have people go, "Well, why is that place in there?" That's out of the city.
Not even Chicago, right?
It's like, well, hey, you know what? Sometimes we like to venture out of the city and go to other places. Like we used to go to Chuck's. I don't know if you've ever been to Chuck's Southern Comforts Cafe over in Burbank. Really, I'm a barbecue fanatic. Just really, really good food in there, like Southern style.
Best barbecue in the city.
You know what? I got to jump out of the city and head out to Palos Heights. There's a little place called, it's at 127th and Narragansett, okay, called Smoky Joe's. And these two brothers in there have, I get the two meats when I go there. They give me hot link and they give me just the barbecue pulled pork.
It always comes back to sausage, doesn't it?
Oh, it's excellent because, Chuck's has good stuff too. Years ago, just think there weren't many barbecue joints at all.
Oh, we're in a barbecue renaissance right now.
Yeah, I mean, I went to college down in Memphis, so I learned to like the barbecue. So I look hard for the places around here for good barbecue. So
I road tripped to Memphis a couple of years ago just because I figured we'd eat well while we were there. Mm-hmm. And we did.
Yeah.
Well, if we can go backwards for a minute, you guys both talked about beef. I want to challenge you both to someday, I know we've already eaten tonight, but someday come back and get a Byron's beef too, because we're pretty proud of it. We make our own.
And what's funny, Mike, too, because every time I come in here, I'm such a dog fanatic. I always get the dog here, and I've never tried the beef, but I'd love to try the beef too.
And I do the same thing, Dennis. I'll go to a place and I'll order what I think is the signature, the thing you gotta get.
Right.
And when I think Byron's, I think hot dogs.
Yeah.
But if you're
I
doing your
can't
own
blame
thing,
you for that.
Yeah. But I've been here too, like you're saying. I might be ordering my dog, but I'll see other people ordering up the burgers or the beef.
Right.
You got the chicken sandwiches and stuff in there too. So, I've seen those coming out. I've always got the dog here, but the beef sounds good.
Oh yeah, nothing like that beef with the wet French roll.
Right.
Yeah.
The jardiniere.
I like when you get the beef and you start eating it. I like to throw the fries underneath. And
yes, you do.
Go ahead and let that.
It's like a poor man's poutine, really.
Let the gravy go ahead and fall off into it.
Dennis Foley, we should do this again.
This is great.
We should tour the city together. You are the guy when it comes to food. The new book, We Speak Chicagoese, love it. I mean,
thanks.
Again, this speaks to everything, every person, every personality, every neighborhood we've known and experienced. Great work on the book.
I know. I'm going to go buy it.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I'm going to bring one by for you, Mike. Don't worry about buying it. But, you know what? It was my pleasure. Two people said, folks said to me, hey, that's great. You got a story in there. And I said, I really, it's fun having a story, but I'm, so much more, feel so much more proud of the fact that I was able to help gather these stories from these really good writers and help put it together, and along with Bill Nyland, and just kind of place them in there and say, hey, that, we had a pretty, nice role in getting everything kind of taken care of and having a book that I think Chicagoans will be proud of.
And if I learned anything from the show, you're not a jagoff.
Hey, Mike's not a jagoff either.
Hey, you jagoffs better not spill in my car.
Oops, sorry about that.
Hey, the both of you better stop that now.
Hey, if you jagoffs spill relish on the backseat of my car.
Hey, I'm just
At least I wiped up the mustard.
I'm just going to throw some relish on your shirt to give you a few more stains there, Jim.
I got some already over by there. Guys, thank you.
Okay.
This was great. Thanks for having me on.